Hello everybody, welcome back to the Yotso Tech Tracks YouTube channel. You're joining me on the following day of this suspension lift install I'm doing on my driveway. I'm still working on the front end. I haven't touched the rear yet. The rear should be a piece of cake compared to the front. Basically the rear is a spacer lift with nothing that has to be removed. The front suspension is a little bit different though. As you guys might have known from previous videos, upper control arms are already in, everything is greased up, torqued up to specs, and right now I'm just going over little things, little details that I double checking, triple checking. I'm also doing wheel alignment on the driveway. If you guys are interested in this setup, what I'm using basically is I am adjusting the toe, which is basically, if you look down on my feet, when the tires are facing forward, if they are towed in, they go down the road like this. If they are towed out, they go down the road like this. Both of them are going to be significant tire wearing alignment numbers, so those have to be done to specifications. I'm going to make it parallel for now, see how it drives. If I need to, I will take it to alignment shop. If not, I will leave it be. I'm going to also check camber, which is the tilt of the wheel out or in. I can do that later when the driveway is level. I'm just putting the weight of the vehicle on the suspension is loaded and how it would drive down the road straight. You have to make sure, if you guys can see from the glare of the sun, I'm not sure, the wheel is dead straight. And I'm basically comparing the measurement of measuring from the front with a tape measure all the way across. If you guys can see that, I just throw a tape measure from this end to the other, and these are aluminum extrusions I have. They are very straight and flat. What you want to do is, first of all, put the weight on the vehicle. You want the suspension loaded, how it would drive down the road. Right now everything is supported underneath basically the lower control arm, which is basically pushing on the spring. So I do have wheel adapters. This is the silver piece you see here. Anyway, you want to make sure this bar is very straight and all the way flush up to the hub or any flat surface. I'm using the lip of this wheel spacer as my guide. So I measured it, and after checking it, it was pretty much out of whack by a lot. It was 1.75 towed out, 1 3/4 inches towed out, which is significant. You want to be able to get this to about 1/16 of an inch of total tow, which is basically any tape measure off the shelf. If you see, for example, between 27 and 28, there are 16 lines. That's the graduations. You want the total tool to be parallel or very close to 1/16 of an inch. I've nailed it to as much as I could. On this vehicle, tow is adjusted very simply. Basically on this truck, I believe it's a 24 millimeter to loosen the jam nut on the outer tie rod end. You want to be able to hold the tie rod with a 17 so it doesn't spin. Loosen up the nut. You can also hold this one with a 24. I don't have another 24, but I have a box wrench or an adjustable wrench or whatever you can get your hands on. And basically what you want to do is loosen up this jam nut, and as you're turning this tie rod, what you are doing is moving the thread in and out inside this outer tie rod end, which is going to pull the wheels in or out. So once again, I had a pretty significant tow out condition. I had to turn this tie rod, and you're turning this thread inside this outer tie rod end. You're basically pulling this side closer and that side closer. Once again, you want to make sure your steering wheel remains straight. This is how it will drive down the road, and I'm really happy with these results. Furthermore, you guys might have known from previous videos, I did snap off these sway bar end links, just like almost like a toothpick. I applied tiny little bit of torque to loosen these nuts up, and boom, they snapped exactly the same on both sides. So I had to get a pair of these. They're not too cheap, not too expensive. They were about $60 a piece, which is a little bit too expensive for these things, but they are what they are. And one thing I've noticed is this is going to be the right height, guys. So this will be the truck driving down the road. I'm going to try to make this anti-roll bar parallel, which is basically a lifted condition. You can tell that if I actually put this right into the lower control arm, it's going to pull this down. I'm going to try to make an adapter that's going to lengthen this one, and this is pretty much the orientation I want it to go down on the roads. The only reason for that is because you want maximum performance from your anti-roll bar when it's parallel driving down the road, but also because this design has these bushings, And if I crank this all the way down, the bushings are always going to be in this orientation, and they're going to pretty much reduce their life. So the more parallel you can get these bushings to sandwich together, when you tighten this up, it's just finger tightened right now, you're going to increase the maximum life you get out of them. And for $120 a pair, I want to make these things last a long time. The other update, brake pads I replaced, because you guys may have known from previous videos, this truck was sitting around for about 2 months, and surface rust developed on the brake rotors and the brake pads, and driving it to work the day after, I didn't think much of it, but every day for about a week and a half, pretty much the brake pads got wiped out. They machined the surface of the rotors inside and outside. The rotors are still in pretty good shape. These will clean up nicely just driving them. I don't have to resurface them. They will clean up with a brand new set of pads. But that's the damage. $60 for the front pair, which is not too bad, but a new set of brake pads had to be put on. These upper control arms, I wanted to mention last time, I forgot to put it in the video. These look like they are not compatible with the air ride suspension, if you guys are looking for that, just because the factory upper control arms have a little, basically it's a little ball socket that's here. I believe that's for the ride height sensor. It is welded to the factory control arm here, and also it has a little clip for this wheel speed sensor that this vehicle has mounted to the upper control arm. I'm just going to zip tie it here or tape it or whatever. Probably I'll put a little bit of rubber cushion underneath. I don't want this surface of this powder coating to be chafed off over a while, so I'm going to be putting a little bit of rubber grommet here and zip tying the whole assembly so they can move together. With this suspension lift install, it is somewhere between 2 and 3, roughly 2-3 inches above stock. Drive shaft angles look okay. The CV boots are not rubbing, although from the factory these are a lot closer than I would like them to be. This shock absorber and the CV boot you guys can see here, I'll have to keep an eye on that. It is a little bit close to my liking. I would like more gap over there, but it is what it is. Perhaps I can even get rid of this CV boot clamp and move the whole CV boot inside a little bit to push the whole CV boot a little bit tighter, and it'll give more of a clearance over there. Besides that, everything is straightforward. The brake lines are long enough. They are not overextended on maximum down travel. Even turning the wheel, I double checked, triple checked, everything looks good. So the only thing I have to do right now, I'm going to go and get some tools, tighten up these jam nuts on both sides. Alignment should be okay to drive at least, and I'm going to be making either an adapter for this sway bar end link. I want it roughly in this orientation, so I might just get a box of aluminum, bolt it here, and I'm gonna bolt these together so it'll live in this orientation driving down the road, which is where I want it to be. Everything else looks okay on this setup. I need to get a lubricant. People mention these Uniballs like some kind of a PTFE lubricant. This is a Teflon lined spherical joint, so it is self-lubricating. However, more lubricant is never a bad thing. Spray it up, put this cap back on, hammer it on. It is a press fit, and it should be okay for a while. The next time this vehicle is going to get serviced, I'm going to grease the bushings for the upper control arm, and I'm also going to lubricate the Uniball. Besides that, there's no other service points on this vehicle. It's pretty much factory setup, so it should be good to go for a long time. So thanks a lot guys for watching, and I'll go over to the other side, give you guys another view from this side. Everything is the same as the passenger side. Everything is bolted up, tightened up, torqued to specs, and the wheels are going to go back on very soon. And I'm going to do my best to work on the rear suspension lift of this truck. Okay, so thanks guys for watching. See you next time on the Yotso Tech Tracks YouTube channel. Bye for now.